In this video I will show how to segment ventricles, atria and major vessels of the heart. The cardiac CT dataset. Usually before segmentation the best is to check the resolution of the dataset to make sure that we have approximately isotropic voxels or voxel size the same along each axis. And also we can crop the volume if it contains regions that are not relevant to us. So first of all, this is our input volume. By default create a region of interest that covers the whole image and check the volume information. The spacing is 0.4 by 0.4 by 2 millimeters, highly anisotropic. And when we do segmentation we cannot really take advantage of this high in-plane resolution if the out-of-plane resolution is that high. So what we do is do interpolated cropping, forcing isotropic spacing, so then in the output or also they have the exact same spacing, and then increase the scale to be somewhere between the minimum and maximum spacing. So in this case the input was 0.4, 0.42, the spacing that we'll work with will be 1.2, 1.2, 1.2. That looks good. We can slightly crop the volume. So make sure that we still include everything that we need. And so far this is good. So apply this. So we crop the volume and sample it, and we will use this for segmentation. And the region of interest, and go to segment editor and create a segment for each structure that I would try to segment. I need to create another segment that will contain everything else that is not the ventricles and the vessels. And give it a slightly more distinctive color so that it's easier to distinguish from everything else. And I will paint seeds inside each of these regions, and then we'll use the grow from seeds effect to create a complete segmentation. So it will be the easiest to find is the left ventricle. So it's here, I paint inside. On the other side of the mitral valve there is the aorta, so I paint inside the aorta as well. And above it is the coronary artery, and below that is the right ventricle. And behind it is the right atrium. And the right atrium is about the right ventricle. It's something like this. And I paint inside the superior vena cava here, and if I can see the inferior vena cava, then I paint it there as well. It's kind of visible there. The last thing that I have to add is all the other segments, so it's outside all the ventricles and vessels. So even the heart muscles are in the other category because we are interested in the ventricles and vessels and not in the heart muscle itself. Also the bones are outside the heart or heart. There. Probably this is enough. So we can just activate the grow from seed effect initialize from the current seeds and see what automatic segmentation we come up with. So we can insert the segmentation in 2D. So you can see with darker the seed regions and with lighter the automatically created segments. You can kind of see it in 2D, but it would be much easier to see in 3D. So I go to segmentations and I choose the segmentation preview segmentation and choose to show it as a closed surface in 3D. I click this button to recenter the view. So of course all the other segment hides everything, so I just hide this so that we can see the automatic segmentation result. So it's more or less okay, except there are a couple of places where the seeds are not propagated properly at the boundary that may not be fully correct. So for example here the right ventricle flew into the right atrium. So I can fix that by enabling the cursor, pressing down the shift key, moving the mouse. I could highlight this point in all the slice viewers, and then I can change the seeds. So I go back to segment editor, and so this shouldn't be right ventricle, but it should be right atrium. So I go paint inside that it's the atrium. So that automatically updates the 2D and 3D the segmentation results in 2D and 3D. If I want to rotate around, it's by default it's still the paint tool is active, but if I press space, then it goes back to the toggles between the two last active tools. So I can easily rotate around the view, press space again, activate paint, press space again to deactivate paint. You can use this to navigate in the views without changing anything. Here there is some more to reassign to the right atrium or downshift by moving the mouse, so it highlights the same position. And I recolor this part. I zoom in with right click and moving the mouse up and down. So I recolor this and assign this to the right atrium as well. And I wait a few seconds and it's updated on both 2D and 3D. And of course it was misclassified before because there is not really any strong intensity difference between the right ventricle and atrium. So when I draw additional seeds for the atrium, then usually I have to draw additional seeds for the ventricle as well. So here I can fix this out by adding a bit here. Okay, so now that was good. I could do it with all the other parts. One thing is that separating the left and right ventricle. The left ventricle has very good contrast, right not so much. So it's very often we need to separate these two manually. Main thing inside, I can change the brush size by holding down Shift key and moving the mouse wheel. With a small brush, I just drop a point there. When I move the mouse over any region, then in the bottom left corner of the screen you can see what is the segment below the current position. So you can see that it's right ventricle, it's left ventricle. So here it's right ventricle. I have to propagate a bit more there to make it nice and smooth. I just drop a seed there. And constrain it a bit more. It's about okay. You don't have to be perfect because we will smooth the results anyway and post-process it, so it's not a problem if it's not fully perfect at this stage. Something like this. It depends on what is the segmentation task, how accurate we need to do with the segmentation, but let's say we are good enough. So then we go to growth from sales and finalize the segmentation. Then create a 3D representation, and you can even delete this other segment and go smoothing, join smoothing. Let's see what we get with the default options. Smoothed and most details are preserved. If you want to segment the pericardial surface as well, then I would do that with the surface cut effect that is part of the segment editor extra effects extension. So you have to install that segment editor extra effects extension to get this effect here. So I choose this, and I don't want to overwrite any of the existing segmentation, so I will choose to not overwrite any of the segmentations, and create a new segment. And use this tool to define the heart more. I draw points on each image plane, approximately equal distances from each other. This algorithm mainly for generating convex or slightly concave shapes, so it won't be a very fully accurate representation, but an approximation of the heart surface. If I miss any point, I just drop there to make sure it's including. And once it's done, it's important to click apply to remember this. Maybe it was a bit too conservative, so I had some margin. Let's grow it by 3 millimeters. Something like it. Maybe it's not the most accurate segmentation, like this. At least we have a qualitative view, and I can make this semi-transparent in 3D by this. So that was it.